Hi everyone, welcome on section 51. I am DOZgeek and you are watching section 51. As usual, I am on board of the Bellerophon, the spaceship going to the unlimited space, the infinite space. So welcome on section 51. Thank you again for to all the people who are watching our channel. Thank you for all your kind comments and for supporting our channel. All the countries are now affected by this subject, this strong question. We are going to talk about the coronavirus, people. Yes, the coronavirus. We ever talked about this strange virus in a live session on the channel? I thought that it was important for everyone to know some important informations about safety and about this virus, because you know that this is a strong virus and it is now affecting quite all the countries in the world. And as for me, as a French, I can say now that my country, France, is strongly affected by this virus. So now the France is on the level 3 of the security, and it is quite sure that as I am talking to you now, it is quite sure that all the French people are going to be are going to have to stay at home all the time. The question is, how long can the new coronavirus last on surfaces? Yes, this is an important question, a question of propagation. I think that you say that in English. How the coronavirus is going from one people to other people, and how long can it last on the different surfaces. Let's go now on the web to find some information. Yes, let's go. So here we are. Yes, here we are. Okay. So this is an article of Life Science, livescience.com. An article published on March 2020, about 5 days ago. So I think it was published on March the 11th of 2020. An article written by Yasmin Saplagoglu, and she is titling article, I guess it's a woman. She's saying a new study suggests the virus can live on surfaces for up to 3 days. Okay? This story was updated on Wednesday, March 11th, to reflect new data on how long SARS-CoV-2 can live on surfaces. As the coronavirus outbreak continues to accelerate in the US, cleaning supplies are disappearing off the shelves and people are worried about every subway rail, deli counter and toilet seat they touch. And don't even think about the toilet paper, which is going to miss in the supermarkets. But how long can the new coronavirus linger on surfaces anyway? The short answer is we don't know. A new analysis found that the virus can remain viable in the air for up to 3 hours, on copper for up to 4 hours, on cardboard up to 24 hours, and on plastic and stainless still up to 2 to 3 days. However, this study, which was published in the preprint database medRxiv on Wednesday, has not yet been peer-reviewed. Another study published in February in the Journal of Hospital Infection analyzed several dozen previously published papers on human coronaviruses, other than the new coronavirus, to get a better idea of how long they can survive outside of the body. They concluded that if this new coronavirus resembles other human coronaviruses, such as its cousins that cause SARS and MERS, it can stay on surfaces such as metal, glass or plastic for as long as 9 days. Wow, that's becoming longer. In comparison, flu viruses can last on surfaces for only about 48 hours. But some of them don't remain active for as long as temperatures higher than 86 degrees Fahrenheit, equivalent to 30 degrees Celsius. The authors also found that these coronaviruses can be effectively wiped away by household disinfectants. For example, disinfectants with 62 to 71% ethanol or 0.5% hydrogen peroxide or 0.1% sodium hypochlorite bleach can efficiently inactivate coronaviruses within a minute, according to the study. We expect a similar effect against the 2019 nCoV. The researchers wrote, referring to the new coronavirus. Okay, but even so, the new coronavirus is a similar strain to the SARS coronavirus. It's not clear if it will behave the same. Each virus behavior is really different. It's also not clear how frequently hands become contaminated with coronaviruses after touching a sick patient or contaminated surface, according to the study. And the World Health Organization recommends washing hands or using alcohol-based hand rubs for decontamination of the hands. It's possible that a person can be infected with the virus by touching a contaminated surface or object, then touching their own mouth, nose, or possibly their eyes, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, that you can preview, you can see in the TV show The Walking Dead. But this is not thought to be the main way the virus spreads. So the virus remains viable in the air. The new study can't say whether people can become infected by breathing it in from the air. Yes, and that's the point. That's very interesting because the most of the cases are people who are too near to other people, and they give the virus by talking or by coughing or by spreading the virus with the hands, by shaking hands or with the kisses. But there is some strange cases which are not they are not explained. They are still unexplained. We don't really know how the people have been infected or contaminated because they were not in the area of the expansion of the virus, or they were not in contact with contaminated people. So there is still some interrogation. There is still some unknown part on that kind of propagation of the virus through the air. How the virus, how the the 2019 nCoV is traveling in the air. This is still unexplained, I think. So the virus is most likely to spread from person to person through close contact and respiratory droplets from coughs and sneezes that can land on a nearby person's mouth or nose, according to the CDC. So let's watch some bits of this video about coronavirus, some answers and questions.
Tell me, what is the coronavirus?
Coronavirus is
Sorry.
in general are a large family of viruses that sport these spiky projections on their surfaces that resemble crowns.
We've seen this before.
The coronavirus you've been hearing about on the news is called SARS-CoV-2, a new coronavirus that we have not seen in humans before.
And where did this one come from?
Several other coronaviruses in recent decades have hopped from animals into people and caused these more severe diseases.
So it started with animals?
Some of them do. Viruses that cause SARS, MERS, and this new disease, COVID-19, all appear to have come from bats initially, and then passed through intermediate animals on their way to humans.
And where did it start?
This current outbreak began in the Chinese city of Wuhan, most likely at a wet market where both live and dead animals are being sold.
So what's different about COVID-19?
This new disease does share symptoms with other respiratory illnesses like the flu.
It's like the flu?
But this is definitely a distinct disease. It's not caused by the same type of virus, and it does have a higher fatality rate.
Yes, it's more dangerous.
Okay, let's get down to it. What are the symptoms?
Infected people often develop a fever and a dry cough. They report symptoms of exhaustion, fatigue.
Okay, that's pretty specific.
I'm a bit tired
People
now.
sometimes develop a runny nose or nausea, and they can develop diarrhea. A lot of these symptoms may
that's
sound
because of
similar
the-
to other respiratory illnesses.
That's why the
because they
toilet
are.
paper.
Doesn't seem that bad.
The disease can develop into a pneumonia where the lungs become inflamed and filled with pus.
If people show symptoms, what should they do?
So if you develop mild symptoms, as of now, the best advice I can give you is to quarantine yourself at home voluntarily.
How can they take care of themselves?
Make sure you stay hydrated. Treat it as you would other respiratory illnesses.
Try to
at least
disease
mild
on
ones.
your
And
own.
if it gets worse?
Keep track of those symptoms.
Find the
if they
death on
worsen,
your own.
you should go to the nearest healthcare facility, and hopefully from there you'll
If
be
you think you
triaged
can
into
survive,
diagnostic
so
testing.
call
How
the
do the
hospital.
tests work?
Most tests that are out, including the one provided by the CDC, use a swab sample from your nose and mouth. They look for bits of viral DNA present in those samples.
Saliva is more reliable than blood.
People are working to develop serological tests, so they're using blood samples, and these look for antibodies that the body generates after being exposed to a new pathogen. So that would be an alternate way of diagnosing this virus.
Those sickies should go to the hospital then.
Yes, so people with the severe symptoms I mentioned earlier should go to the nearest healthcare facility. If you are part of a more vulnerable population, say you're above the age of 65, or you have a pre-existing condition that makes your immune system more prone to severe insult, you should check into the hospital sooner. You are more likely to develop serious complications as a result of this disease.
How about the kids?
Children can catch this disease, but it seems like their symptoms tend to be much milder than we see in adults.
Does having traveled even matter?
Now that we're seeing sustained community spread within the US, more people now are vulnerable to catching this virus, even if they haven't traveled recently. So just keep that in mind.
How does it spread?
The virus can be carried in respiratory droplets that are expelled when you cough or sneeze.
So cover your mouth?
But make sure to use your elbow rather than your hand, as you have a greater chance of putting the viruses onto surfaces if you use your hand.
No touching.
So this virus is transmitted through close contact with people. You could potentially pick up contaminants in that respect.
So
This is kind of where face masks come in. So if you yourself are infected, wearing a face mask prevents the respiratory droplets from exiting your mouth and landing on everyone around you.
It stays alive on surfaces?
Viruses aren't considered alive per se, but yes, it remains viable on these surfaces for a certain period of time, meaning it can infect you if you pick it up.
For how long?
Based on our understanding of other coronaviruses, in ideal conditions, these viruses can last on surfaces for up to, say, 9 days. But more likely, they only survive on surfaces for maybe a handful of hours, depending on the situation.
All right.
Literally,
Yes.
all they're built to do is infect. That's why they're not considered alive, because they replicate, but they don't have the machinery to do it themselves.
Shit.
Right. The virus may also spread through stool, which is especially important to remember in healthcare settings.
But what about those many, many packages from China?
Packages from China, as far as we know, should be perfectly safe because the viruses really aren't built to survive on those surfaces for long periods of time.
So what can I do from home?
Common household disinfectants like alcohol-based cleaners and bleach should be effective at wiping the virus off of surfaces.
Cool. Back to Amazon.
As with any respiratory illness, the easiest way to protect yourself from catching this virus is to wash your hands often and thoroughly. So for at least 20 seconds with soap.
Oh, like that extra antibacterial, antimicrobial soap I see everywhere.
Normal hand soap, not antibacterial.
But
So this virus is an enveloped virus, which means it has like a fatty membrane. The normal soaps break down the fats and basically like disarm the virus in that way.
what about sanitizer?
Will work just fine.
Yeah, no, Amazon sold out of sanitizer too. Can I make my own?
Alcohol-based hand sanitizer
Amazon
can work
killed
as
me.
a backup to hand washing.
So what meds should I talk to my doctor about?
Some treatments are already being used on an experimental basis and in clinical trials. These are antivirals that were originally designed to fight other viruses but show some efficacy against this new one. We'll learn whether those work fairly soon.
Where's these vaccines I'm hearing about?
There's about 20 vaccines in development around the world currently, and all of these are being fast-tracked,
One Day Prime?
meaning they will hopefully be available for widespread use much faster than we would typically see a vaccine.
What about when the seasons change and it gets warmer?
Other coronaviruses, we've seen that they become less transmissible in warmer weather.
Okay.
So that may be also true of this virus, but truly we don't know yet.
What's the deal with schools closing?
School closures are a typical measure in trying to control any sort of epidemic. You see them used in pandemic flu, for instance. So this is an expected measure that will probably be taken by various localities as the outbreak continues.
So, I read this crazy headline on the internet and it said,
You'll see a lot of headlines that seem scary or confusing. I would encourage you, as you see these, to number one, click on the article itself, read through it, check the sources that they use. As we're all learning about this virus together, keep up with the latest news about what we
COVID-19.
actually know about this virus, what we don't know about this virus, also an important point. You can stay tuned on Live Science because we're sorting through all of that mess for you and hopefully packaging it in such a way that you can quickly check up on the situation and determine what it means for you and your loved ones. My name is Nicoletta Lanise, and I am a staff reporter here at Live Science, mostly covering health and medicine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the information. I hope that it was very informative for you. That you found some answers to your questions about this coronavirus, the COVID-19. I think now that the US are going to be touched, to be affected by the virus progressively. It's true that it's a very strong virus. It's a strong threat to healthcare, to the people, but also for the economy, for the countries. There is also another aspect of this question, and we will talk about it in another video, in a future video. That's the characteristic, the origins of the coronavirus. Because coronavirus is not a very natural virus. This is a virus which is usually experienced in laboratories. The question is how such a virus, an artificial virus, certainly created by a private laboratory, is now in the nature, and how could it have been found on animals, and how can it have been transmitted from animals to people? This is some important questions. We are going to talk about these questions in a future video. Okay, people. I hope that it was informative for you, I hope that this video was helpful for you. Don't be in panic. Be careful, stay safe. Try to apply what she said about all the preconizations, all the aspects of protecting yourself. Try to avoid to try to put some distance with people, and above all, try to be rigorous in applying all these measures that she was saying. Okay? So this is the end of this new video. As usual, don't forget to share the video, to like, to subscribe to Section 51. This was DOZgeek on Section 51. Stay safe, stay tuned to Section 51, and see you next time.